Hey guys, welcome back to the Music Hole. My name is Cole, and yes, today we're talking about the one, the only, Metallica. And this is their second album from 1984 called Ride the Lightning, which is my personal favorite Metallica album. I absolutely love it. But if I were to be a little bit nitpicky, I would say that maybe they sound a little dated. You know, it's nothing crazy. I still love this album, and I highly recommend it. But anyway, let's get right into it and start with track one, which is probably the best song. It's called Fight Fire with Fire. Yeah, this is a pretty pessimistic view, right? I mean, first off, let's just talk about how amazing the musicianship is on this song and this album, but also on this song. This is definitely the best song in the album, in my opinion. I mean, no wonder these guys are the kings of metal 30 plus years after the fact, almost 40 years. Oh my gosh, I'm getting old. But anyway, I mean, this song is basically, you know, about the eye for an eye mentality of the world and of a lot of religions. Like, I believe in the Quran in Islam, eye for an eye is a thing, right? But we live in the day, we live in the day and age of nuclear weapons and biowarfare and chemical warfare, where literally at the click of a button, you can just destroy the entire planet. We're not talking about thousands of years ago when the only way to kill somebody is to stick a sword in them, you know, or maybe to launch a catapult. No, we live in the modern age, man. You can just blow everybody up in about 3 minutes. So anyway, you know, why would you want to ruin such a good thing? I mean, think about it. We live in the day and age with like toilets and cell phones where you can read Reddit when you're on the toilet. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. Why would you want to spoil a good thing? So anyway, the impending apocalypse is what this song is about. Although in my personal opinion, I think the apocalypse is more likely to happen because of an AI takeover, right? Because it just kind of gets so smart that it outthinks us and hacks all of our computers or whatever. I think that's far more likely than us blowing each other up, to be honest. Hopefully, neither scenario happens. But anyway, so that's Fight Fire with Fire, my favorite song. A killer opener, if there ever was one. But let's move along to track two, which is called Ride the Lightning, the name of the album. Let's check it out.
Someone else controlling me. Up in the air, trapped in the electric chair. This can't be happening to me. Who made you got to say? I'll take your love from you. Flash before my eyes. Now it's time to die. Burning in my brain, I can feel.
Yeah, so Ride the Lightning obviously is talking about the electric chair, right? Somebody who's condemned to die. And I kind of dig what he's talking about. He's trying to think about it a little more deeply. You know, you've got this character who sounds like on some level maybe he's a good guy, but maybe he's got mental problems that he wasn't able to get pills for or therapy for. And it just took over his mind state such that he did all these awful criminal things that he's now being put on the electric chair for, right? So it sounds like this guy is really tortured. And I mean, let's be honest, there are many people like that who, are schizophrenic or they're super bipolar or I don't know, something's going on to the point where they can become a danger to society, right? And I like the line, he says, "Who made you, God, to say, I'll take your life from you?" So in other words, you've got this guy who's ready to die from the electric chair, who's got all these mental problems that caused him to be there in the first place, right? Because he never got treatment for it or whatever. So you've got that character. But then you've got the executioner who's kind of playing God, who's taking life, he's taking somebody's life by flipping the switch or whatever. And the assumption he's kind of making on this song is that that person is okay. Like he has no problems, right? He just happens to be lucky enough to not be plagued by the mental problems that affected the inmate who's now being put to death, right? The guy pulling the switch was lucky enough and fortunate enough to be more or less stable, such that he's a lot less likely to go crazy and murder someone, let's say. So I kind of admire the song in the sense that he's trying to talk about the fact that, like, yes, there are these awful criminals who murdered people, but let's try to think about it a little bit more deeply. Let's try to address why maybe they did what they did. Maybe it was out of pure desperation and poverty or mental problems or all three, right? You don't want to just immediately dismiss somebody. Even someone like that is what I imagine he's kind of sort of maybe getting at. So I dig it. I dig the philosophy there. But anyway, let's move along to another really interesting song, track 3, which is called "For Whom the Bell Tolls."
Biggest fight on the hill in the early days, constant chill deep inside. Shouting gun on they run through the endless gray, on they fight for the right, yes but who's to say? For a hill men would kill, why they do not know. Sniffing wounds justified. Men of five still alive through the raging glow, gone insane from the pain that they surely know. For whom the bell tolls, time marches on. For whom the bell tolls.
Yeah, this is such a masterpiece, just sonically speaking. I wish I could play the whole song so you could hear what I mean. But anyway, let's talk about this clip and what it means to me. So I like this song lyrically because it's talking about a warfare situation and the horrible reality of it, being in the trenches and fighting over every inch and murdering your fellow man, right, for your country or whatever. But he says in the chorus, time marches on. So in other words, like, you just happen to be so freaking unlucky that you exist in 1942 America, so you have to go off and fight Germany, right? I mean, obviously you have to fight Germany, but the point is, you're part of this super unlucky generation that has to fight anybody in the first place because there's the draft, and obviously if you didn't fight the Nazis, they're going to try to take over the world. But anyway, the point is, time marches on, and somebody like me who never had to deal with the drafts, who basically never has to deal with a warfare situation. I mean, geez Louise, just think about how lucky we are, people of my generation, to just live in a world where, I mean, there are wars going on, more or less, but like, for the most part, they're very small scale. They're not World War I, they're not World War II. So time marches on in the sense that, like, he's trying to help us keep in mind that you got to be thankful for the fact that we aren't facing this awful, like, possible World War III environment. Like on track 1, for instance, he's kind of referencing a possible World War III situation with nuclear warfare, right? So thank goodness that hasn't happened for us. We've been in relative peace for decades, practically. So anyway, just cherish the peace while it's here is another way of putting it. So I dig it. But anyway, track 4 is up next. Let's talk about it. It's called Fade to Black.
Life it seems will fade away, drifting further every day, getting lost within myself. Nothing matters, no one else. I have lost the will to live, simply nothing more to give. There is nothing more for me. Need the end to set me free.
Yeah, this is a dark and depressing song, right? This guy is committing suicide, basically. But I appreciate what he's trying to get at, which is that, you can be in a situation. Let's take an extreme situation, for example, where like maybe you're blind and paralyzed, right? Well, you can't kill yourself physically by yourself. You can't have somebody help kill you because that's illegal. And even if you were to have someone help kill you, you still got to worry about the possibility of hell. Like, obviously, killing yourself is a sin in like every religion, and if you do it, you're going to hell if that's what you believe. So let's examine a poor soul like that who's paralyzed and blind, and all they can do is lie in bed and be taken care of all day. Well, they got to live the rest of their life. They're forced to, right? They can't just end it like on a physical level, on a biological level. Right? They have to live until they just grow old and die, which is like the most depressing thought in the whole world. I've actually thought of this on occasion, of the fact like, what if as a 30-year-old I became blind and paralyzed and, well, you got to live out the next 50 years until you just die of old age. Geez Louise, that is the most depressing thing in the world. So this poor guy, I don't know how old he is on this song, but he's clearly not having a good time. He's clearly so down in the dumps that he wants to end his life. So anyway, I appreciate what this song kind of makes me think of, even if it's really depressing. But anyway, let's move along to track 5, which is called Trapped Under Ice. Yeah, this song really hit home for me lyrically. I can totally identify with it. He says, I am trying to live, cry out, I'm trapped under ice, right? So I imagine a person very much like myself who, because they're very anxious and shy, and they worry too much about other people's opinions, which is me, I don't do a lot of things, or I don't ask girls out, or I don't experience certain things in my life because I'm just so anxious. I'm too nervous. I'm too afraid to be let down. I'm too afraid of all sorts of random BS that doesn't really matter. So in other words, I'm not really living my life to its fullest because I'm just too worried about BS things, right? It's all in your mind, really. And sometimes I come to that realization and I'm able to operate with that realization in mind, that it's just all in my head, that I don't need to worry about it so much, that, anxiety is just a state of mind for the most part. But, reality is reality, and the mind works in mysterious ways, and you can realize this one day and be fine, but then the next day you're back to your old ways and you are just a really anxious person who doesn't get to live their life to the fullest. So I imagine that's what he's talking about. Somebody who's kind of trapped under ice, metaphorically, right? I mean, in my own life, for instance, I've mentioned a few times that I'm bipolar on this channel. So when I'm kind of manicky, it really unlocks a side of my personality where I'm very confident. I do a lot of things that I wouldn't normally do because, you know, I just have a lust for life, so to speak. So I'm no longer trapped under ice. But then at the same time, I go a little bit too far if I don't keep it in check, which is what you have to do as a bipolar person. So, you know, I totally identify with this song. I understand. I appreciate what he's talking about here. I dig it. But anyway, so let's move on to track number 6, which is called Escape. Yeah, I just love this song lyrically because it's talking about everyone's inner mental struggle to improve themselves, you know, because most people only see the result of your current situation, right? They don't understand maybe you're really shy and anxious for most of your life, and then you worked on it, and, you know, maybe you like meditated a lot, and you kind of came to this realization that it's all in your mind. And if it's all in your mind, right, mind over matter, so to speak. So you became this really more confident person that you're proud of. But people don't realize that all this effort was put into you becoming that way, right? So it's a tale of somebody's struggle to improve their lives, to become a better person, to become more courageous maybe, to become more ambitious and less lazy or something, you know, just to be a better version of themselves. And, you know, I mean, I'm definitely guilty of that. Whenever I see somebody, I just see who they are currently. And then I just, you know, form an opinion on them based on that. And for all I know, that night, maybe they had a really rough morning because their boyfriend broke up with them. And so now all I see is a really sad, angry person. And I just dismiss them as like, oh, this person's really sad and angry. Like, they're kind of lame. You know, so it's a song about the fact that everyone is dealing with something. You know, people are always trying to improve themselves, and they're really proud of, you know, the improvements they've made, no matter how small or big. And, you know, just trying to keep that in mind, that people aren't static, that people can change if they really put their mind to it. You know, so I appreciate the message of this song, assuming that's what he's talking about. You know, it always makes me think of that, which I appreciate. So anyway, I have one last clip for you guys, which is from track 7. And normally I do 8 clips, but track 8 is an instrumental, which is a really cool song, but I mean, what am I going to say about it, really? So anyway, track 7, it's the last one, which is called Creeping Death. Yeah, this is an intense song, and it kind of gets me thinking about something in terms of religion. So you've got the Jews here, obviously, who were enslaved by the Egyptians, the pharaohs, for 400 years is what it sounds like. But then they've got this guy, this religious symbol, I forgot his name, but you know, you've got this guy, this prophet or whatever, who's here to save the Jews, to lead them to the promised land. Right? And I mean, I'm assuming that most of the people are just kind of like believing in this guy, that he's their savior, right? But if you think about it, these people are so desperate. It sounds like they'll take anything they can get. You know, I mean, he just so happens to be the savior, but for all they know, this guy could have just been a whack job, as they put it, right? He could have just been some fearless but crazy person, you know, who could be leading them off to their doom. You know, creeping death to me would be them following this guy who says he has all the answers, but really he's full of it. So they're just going slowly towards an unpleasant end because they're following this guy. And by following this guy, the Egyptians, you know, will punish them. So I just imagine all these people who are living horrible lives. They've been enslaved. And they will literally take anything they can get, hope-wise. So they follow this guy. You know. So that's kind of how I think about this song. It's kind of an interesting song, lyrically, you know. But anyway, sonically, it's just totally awesome. It's totally kick-ass. I mean, this album is pretty kick-ass. Let's be honest. But as I mentioned in my intro, if I am to be a little bit nitpicky, it is a little bit dated production-wise. I mean, it's nothing crazy. It's a totally great album. I highly recommend it. It's an amazing album, but I will nitpick a little bit. So anyway, that's all I have to say about it. I hope you thought it was interesting. I hope you like it. Let me know in the comments your thoughts, if you liked it or not. I'll check it out. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It really helped me out. But yeah, that's Metallica. That's Ride the Lightning. Check it out and have a good one.